Hey guys, and welcome to FaithWerks Designs. I'm Faith, and I'm very excited to share this new pattern with you guys. I could not wait. If you are an 80s baby, you will get it right away when you see it. We have our little ghosty man. I have wanted to do this pattern for a very long time, but I just have not had the time. So I put him on my list of patterns that I wanted to make this year, and I love how he turned out. It's a very simple pattern. It does get a little thick, so if you have a domestic that can handle a few layers, you'll be able to do this. All of these will have SVG files that you can download and be able to use. Wait till the outro and I will tell you what to do to problem solve if you have any problems. So on the top, we've got his little top knot up here is what we decided to call it. And then just around about, we have two of our D-ring connectors so that you can put your straps on. There are a couple rivets on the side just to kind of help with stability. And then on the inside, in this video, there will be binding. If you do not want to do binding, there is another one that I will show you in just a second. So there's binding at the top, and then there's binding at the very bottom. Super duper easy to sew. You could knock a couple of these out in a couple hours. That's one of the things that I really liked about it. You're going to spend a little bit of time on the top, but as far as like the rest of the thing, it goes really fast, except for dragging out your Cricut. But anyway, let's get started. Alright, let's go over hardware really quickly. I have got some 8mm rivets. I'm going to have 4 sets, so 4 caps and 4 stems. Then I'm going to have 2 1-inch D-rings. I am going to have 2 number 5 zippers, and if you look on FaithWerks.com, they have white zipper tape that really looks nice with this. But I found white zippers to go with it. Unfortunately, I have since lost the zippers that I purchased. So anyway, I just want to let you know that they do carry these zippers to kind of go with the zipper tape. If you look on the pumpkin, same thing. It's got orange zipper tape with orange zippers. It's up to you if you want to purchase that or not. But I'm going to be using black zippers, unfortunately, or I may harvest them from that one. Alright, so we have got, this is going to be called the zipper panel. The zipper panel is not going to be interfaced at all. Then you're going to have the piece that's called the zipper flap. That is not going to be interfaced at all. You're going to have your zipper gusset. That is going to be interfaced. Cut your Decoville light 1/4 of an inch shorter all the way around. Alright, so we have got our top knot piece, and it is going to have a little bit of Decoville light in the center just to kind of help it hold its shape on the very top. And then your top knot cover, that's going to go underneath of your top knot to kind of hold your stuffing in so that your little top knot will stand up like it's supposed to. Then we're going to have all of our triangle pieces. Now the triangle pieces you're going to have to do a little bit of work on. You do have a template for the triangle piece Decoville light in your pattern. However, you're going to have to take your pencil or pen and measure down 1.25 inches. Make a line and then put your Decoville light on so that it's in the right spot. The reason we did it that way is so that later on in the pattern we're going to be folding these tips down, and because the Decoville light stops there, it'll help it go down a lot easier. You're going to need 6 of those. You need 2 of your D-ring connectors. They also have a pattern in the pattern piece for the Decoville light. You're going to want to put Decoville light or something in here because they're going to be holding your D-ring on. And so when people are carrying their purse around, you don't want to do it just vinyl because over time that'll wear out. That Decoville light will just give it a little bit extra longevity so that you don't have people calling you and saying that this broke. Then we've got our main panel. You've got the ghost, you've got the pumpkin. I went ahead and hand cut this out. This is in your SVG file, and you could just let your Cricut cut it out. It's up to you. I went ahead and hand cut it out. I also used the Decoville light template to be able to cut this out, and then make sure that you interface this. If you wanted to, when you get to the last steps and we're putting the bottom of our main panel and our bottom together, you could slide some Decoville heavy in between the 2 layers, in between your lining and your outer layer, just to kind of give it a little bit of more firmness, because you can see with just the Decoville light that it'll do that. If you use waterproof canvas lining, it does give a little bit more stability. You could slip the Decoville Heavy in there. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. Then we have got our bottom main panel that is interfaced as well, a 1/4 inch shorter all the way around. Then we've got our lining pieces. We've got the zipper gusset. You need 2 of your bottom and top main panels. You're going to have one that goes on the top and then one that goes on the bottom. You're going to have your zipper panel lining piece. That is going to be all of these pieces for your lining is going to be interfaced unless you chose to say get like a waterproof canvas. And then you've got your main body panel. This is interfaced as well. And that is all you need for the go. So let's get started. Alright, to start we're going to grab our main panel with our face, and then we're going to grab our face backing piece. This one is not interfaced, and that is absolutely fine. What we're going to do is we're going to put some double-sided tape around his little face so that he can hold that face backing piece. I'm going to take the paper off, and we're going to put the face backing piece right side to the wrong side of our main panel. So right side to the wrong side of our main panel. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go stitch 1/8 inch all the way around all of his little face pieces. Alright, I have got a 4 stitch length, a 12 needle for most of this body, just because of the vinyl that I'm using. It wants a lighter needle, and my machine wants to eat everything because she is a beast. So we're just going to go at 1/8 inch all the way around each piece, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of fast forward while I do that because it's, you know, basic. Got the face all done. The next thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to grab your 2 D-rings, connectors, and your 2 D-rings. What I went ahead and did was put double-sided tape on one side. I'm going to slip my D-ring connector on like that, take the double-sided tape paper off, and then push those together. And then decide which side you like looking at better. And the side that doesn't look quite as good, I put some double-sided tape on. I'm going to trim this just a little bit. I cut this out by hand instead of using my Cricut. And so if you do cut it out by hand, you may need to trim it up. You could also, before you attach them, you could also go ahead and edge coat these if you wanted to. It's just completely, entirely up to you. Alright, let me do this other one real quick. You just want them to look good. And if you've got raw edges showing, it's not going to look too fantastical. And it's okay if you need to cut a little off. Alright, now that I've made a mess. Alright, I've chosen my backs, and I put the double-sided tape on there. You need to grab a ruler, and you're going to measure from the outside edge, and then you're going to take the top edge of this D-ring, and make sure that the top edge of the D-ring matches up with the edge of the top of your panel, and that's how you're going to know where to place your D-ring connector. Okay, let's do the other side, and then just press that down. Now we're going to take a smaller ruler and a marking tool. We're going to measure from this fold right here. We're going to measure down 1 inch. And instead of marking up all of my vinyl, I'm just going to make a mark in the seam allowance at 1/8 of an inch. So just 2 little dots. And I am aware it might be hard to see. I might see it better when we get to the sewing machine. I don't want to draw a straight line across there because sometimes this marker does not come off, or not very easily on certain vinyls. It just depends on which ones it is. Okay, we're going to start right here and go straight across and then down around the bottom. Let's go do that. Alright, so I have got my 4 stitch length. I'm going to start 1/8 of an inch in on that side where I marked, and I will show you when I'm done what it looks like. And I'm just going straight across. I'm holding my thread as well when I start sewing, so that when I go to pull it through, it will actually do like I want it to. And just take your time going around the bottom. You're just going 1/8 of an inch from the side, or from the edge, I should say. Alright, I am going to get some water and get rid of those marks before it ends up all over my bag, because, yeah, that's happened once and it's very discouraging. And you do all this work and it just will not come off. It's just particular vinyls, not all of them, just certain ones it does that on, and it's so annoying. And then meet back up where you started. Alright, now I'm going to go to the other side and I'm going to do it speedy fast. Alright, now that we've got that all done, the next thing that we need to do is we need to put in our marks for our rivets. And I don't know if that rainbow glare is messing anything up or not, but this is from Witchard Reed Stitchery. It has all of your little like rivet holes where you want to put it. So I'm going to use these to make sure that my rivets are in line and not like one of them over here, one of them over there. It's such a pain. So basically you want one in the center here and then in the center here. So I'm going to take this and lay it out, and you probably won't be able to see this because of that rainbow color. But you probably have a ruler of some kind. There are so many people that do the 3D printing now that you could probably grab one. You just basically, they're about 1 inch apart. About 1 inch apart. And you just want one in between the seams that you just made, or where you sewed them on, I should say. And then between the D-ring connector and that spot. So hopefully you can see those. Whenever I freehand them, one tends to be in the wrong direction, or just slightly moved from the wrong side. So see if you can still grab these. I don't know if they still sell them or not, but it's been really helpful to make sure that I'm straight, because I can't drive straight. So I'm going to take my cam press and put my holes in. You won't be able to see this, but I'll show you in just a second. Okay, so I'm just putting my holes in there, and then we'll add our rivets. Okay. I'm going to change out my dies so that I have my rivet dies in. If you do not have a cam press and you do a lot of these bags and you need rivets, oh my goodness, such a time saver. Alright, let me grab my rivets. Now, I've been really mindful about where I've been putting my rivets in and how I've been putting them in, because sometimes I make boo-boos. Okay, so I'm going to put the stem through the back and put the cap on the front, so that if I ever do a boo-boo, I can always know where the cap is, so that I can pop it off if I need to. I am not going to have to do that today, but I know there's a tool out there, and a lot of us make mistakes, and there's a tool out there where you can pop a rivet out if you know which side the cap is on and which side the stem is on. So I've just been trying to be more mindful of it, of where I'm putting everything. Alright, that's done. Now we need to squish our rivets in place, and because it's not that many layers of vinyl, I've got 8mm. It's not that many layers, so I'm just going to give it a light squish. I don't need to murder it, I just need it to stay there. Alright, that's done. Next thing we're going to do, we are going to grab our main panel and our main panel lining. I'm going to go ahead and sew both of these in the same exact way so that we can kind of fast forward through this. Alright, what we're going to do is we're going to take these shorter edges here and put them together like this. Then we're going to sew down it 1/4 inch. We're going to do the same thing to our lining fabric. So we're going to grab these short ends, put them together, and then we're going to sew 1/4 inch to sew them together. So let's go do that. Alright, I have got a 3 stitch length, and I'm just going to 1/4 inch sew the edges together. Alright, now I'm going to do the lining. Alright, now we're going to put our stitch length to a 4, and the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take this seam and we're going to open it up. Now you're going to have to do this without being able to actually see it. So if you have one of those little rollers that'll help open your seam up, go for it. Just press it with your fingers. What we're going to do is we're going to sew down this side, come up and around and back over. And hopefully you can kind of see what I'm doing. So I'm pressing them open just like that, and then laying them down, and I'm going to go down the right side and then back up. So stitch length at a 4. I'm holding on to my thread so I can pull them down. And then I'm just taking my hand underneath and pressing that seam open. Alright, with your needle down, turn it sideways. Okay. Make sure that the rest of this is out of the way. We don't want to accidentally sew it. So I'm going to hand crank her 2 stitches. Then with my needle down, turn it again so we can come back down this other side. Hand crank her one more time. Making sure that your seam allowance is that way, because we want to sew it down. Alright, I'm going to grab my lining and I'm going to do the same thing, but fast forwarding. Alright, so we have got our outer panel and our lining panel ready to go. Next thing I need to do is take it from the seam right here and find across from it so that we can find the center back and the center front, and you want to make a little clip. Then you want to take center front and center back, the clip that you just made, put them together, and then find the right side center and then the left side center, and that way you have 4 connecting points, so that when you go to put the bottom on and the zipper null, it'll be easier to find them. You want to do that on both the top and the bottom of both your outer and your lining panel. So I just put the centers together, found the right side, left side, and then center. Okay, easy enough, right? Alright, I'm going to grab the bottom lining and the bottom outer panel. We're going to put those wrong sides together, clip them together. Alright, we're going to base stitch around there, and then we'll go to the next step. So we've got the bottom and then the lining put together. We're going to set all of that aside. We're going to grab the zipper panel, zipper flap, and then the zipper panel lining. We're going to take all of these to the sewing machine. We're going to put right sides together, and we're going to sew 1/4 inch down the edge so that we have one big circle, sewing them individually, I should say. Alright, we're going to take all 3 of those to the sewing machine. Alright, I have got my stitch length out of 3. I'm going to sew the lining first. We're using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then my outer piece. And then my flap. Alright, we're going to cut those apart, and then we're going to do just like we did the outer panel where we opened up the seam allowance and sewed it down, that's just going to kind of cut back on all of that bulk. So even with my lining, I'm going to open that seam up and sew down it on both sides. So about 1/8 of an inch, just start sewing down, pivot, and then back down again. Get your outer panel, same thing. And I'm not sewing these together, I'm just sewing them one right behind the other, hopefully saving a little bit of thread. Alright, while we're over here, I'm going to go ahead and with this pressed open, take your seams and meet each other on the other side. And then we're going to close this up and kind of make like a tube. And just kind of, you don't have to super clip this, we just need it to stay in place. We're going to base stitch 1/8 of an inch from the edge so that these two sides will stay together, and that is going to create your little flap. Alright, when you're sewing you want to make sure that your sides are staying together, because like everything else it's going to want to move. So I'm just kind of pressing that top one over the bottom one and making sure that I'm getting the edges together, and I have a 4-stitch length still. Alright, so we have got our zipper panel lining, and then we have got our zipper flap. We're going to set all of that aside for a second, and then we're going to grab our main zipper. I'm going to go ahead and put my zippers on. Make sure that you burn the edges of your zipper tape. So with the zipper facing this way, we're going to do left side first and then the right side. If they're even Steven on that side, you're good to go. Then open up the other side and come down. I don't think that's right. Okay, look. If it looks like that, then you've done it wrong. So take your zipper off. Sometimes I hope that I'll mess up so that I can show you guys what right way looks like and what the wrong way looks like. So that's right. Make sure that you burn your ends. We're going to grab our outer gusset and our lining gusset. We're going to take our lining gusset and put it right side to the right side of one side of our zipper tape. And then just kind of hold it in place. I'm going to clip it and then turn it over. And then take our lining and put it right side to the wrong side of our zipper tape. Now, if you're buying the zipper tape from WayWack, it's a little bit wider than like 1 1/4 inch, so I made my pieces 1.5 inches, and then you can just kind of trim them up once we're done with the whole thing. Alright, let's go to the sewing machine. You're going to sew across here 1/4 inch. Alright, so I have got a 3-stitch length. I'm going to sew a little ways, back stitch, cut your threads, and then we're going to take these clips off. And I'm going to take this other side to the other end of my zipper tape. So right side of my zipper tape to the right side of my zipper gusset. And I'm going to clip those together, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to base stitch them in place. And that way I don't have to worry about it moving when I'm trying to add that lining, because this is a little tiny space to have to bring a lining back up over. And sometimes it can be kind of hard, even with clips. The stuff wants to do what it wants to do, you know what I'm saying? Alright, so now you should have your lining. Take your lining edge and bring it back over to the wrong side of your zipper. And if you want, you can clip it in place on both sides, just so you don't have to worry about it. I think it's still going to try and run away. And then we're going to sew that together. It's a whole lot easier to sew a zipper gusset when the gusset is bigger. And when it's tiny, it just kind of wants to go with the direction it wants to go in. Alright, so we're going to take those clips off, and it should look like that. Now turn it right side out. And if it looks like that with the zipper one big circle, then you've done it right. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our stitch length to a 4, and then we're going to base stitch all the way around it. Alright, now that we're done with the zipper, what we're going to do is we're going to fold that gusset in half, find the center on this side and the center on this side, and then take it and find the opposite center. So you've got your back center and then your front center. Then you're going to take your back center and your front center and put them together, and then you're going to find your right center on both sides and your left center on both sides, so that you have 4 marks. 4 points for us to be able to connect everything to. You're going to do the same thing on your zipper panel and your zipper panel lining. And then your bottom panel, we didn't do this yet, and I want to show you my little taco method. So sometimes when you're doing a circle and you're trying to do the 4 points, it can be kind of difficult. So what I've done is I put a clip there, and I'm double checking that everything's lined up. Put a clip there, then find the center, turn it over, find the center, make clips. Take a clip off, put those centers that you just clipped together, clip it, and then find the center. Sometimes when I'm doing a circle, it will kind of move on me, and my center won't actually be my center. So we started naming it the taco method, where you just make it look like a taco and then clip it. Alright, we've got all of those marks on there. You need to do the same thing to your top main piece. I'm going to do that in a minute. Alright, we're going to grab our top knot and our top knot cover. What you're going to need to do is we're going to need to take it and we're going to need to make a few marks before we even get started. So at a 1/2 inch from the very bottom, we're going to make marks on all of them. This is going to tell us where we're going to start our sewing. And then when we sew, we're going to do just like a dart. So you're going to start here and then come off the edge, and I'll show you in just a second. I meant to have this marked beforehand, but I forgot. So, okay. So you're going to put these ends together, starting right there at that line, and then sew off the edge just like you would a dart. So let's go do that. So your Decoville light may come off if you didn't adhere it just right, and that's fine. I went back with my second one and put some double-sided tape and then put it back in the center. It's just so that the top of your little top knot will stay in the shape that I want it to stay in. Okay, at a 1/4 inch from the edge, and we're going to start sewing at that line, if that made any sense whatsoever. So I'm going to start sewing at that line, and instead of following that curve, I'm just driving straight, just like you would a dart. Let me take this out so I can show you what I mean. Just like that. So I start at a 1/4 inch in and then just drive straight down. So I'm going to do that real quick on all the rest of them. So I did have to use some double-sided tape to just put that Decoville light back there, and it's fine. Alright, turn it inside out. What we're going to need to do now is just make sure that all those little tucks are out. We're going to take some of our batting, or stuffing, and just shove it in there. Now, my last one, I put just enough stuffing in there, and then I tacked it down, and then I removed one of my clips and I stuffed some more because I really don't want it to be like squashed down. I want it to stand up. Okay, take your top knot cover and we're going to match up one side just straight across there. Then we're going to take the other side, the side across from that one, and we're going to clip them like that. Then on these other sides, I'm just going to add a couple of clips to hold them in place. Okay, just like that. And if you push down on it, it still seems like it's got a little bit of room in there, go ahead and put a little bit more stuffing. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to sew on the outer edge, nowhere near close to this, but on the outer edge, we're going to sew just base stitching those two together. Alright, with a 4-stitch length, we're just going to sew right on the outside. You can take the top and just kind of squish it over if you need to. But just with a 4-stitch length, we're just going to base stitch these two together. Alright, so our little top knot is nice stuffed, not too stuffed, but just nice and stuffed. Let's set that aside. We're going to grab our 6 pieces of our triangles. If you have not already, make sure that you lay this out on your desk as flat as you can. And then measure down 1.25 inches. Then place your Decoville light. I think I said that in the beginning, but if I didn't, we need that 1.25 inches so that we can fold it over for the next couple of steps. We also need the lines here so that you know where to stop sewing. We're going to start sewing at the bottom and then come all the way to this line and then stop. So I'm going to grab 2 and put them right sides together. And I'm going to sew from this bottom to that line. And I'm going to do that on all 3 sets. So you should have 6 panels all together, giving you 3 sets. Make sure that they're right sides together. Let's go to the sewing machine and sew those. Alright, so I have got a 3-stitch length, and you're going to be sewing them at 1/4 inch. Stop when you get to that line. Pull this out a little bit, and then start my next one. Alright, take all those out, separate them, cut them all apart. The next thing that you're going to have to do is just like we did on our main panel, we're going to be taking these and pushing that seam allowance down, and then we're going to be top stitching down that seam allowance. It makes the top lay really nicely. Okay, so open this up. We're going to put our stitch length at 4. We're going to start from this end, not this end. Press that open. I am going to backstitch because I do not want those threads coming loose. And then we're going to top stitch and stop right where these lines are. And again, I'm going to backstitch so those stitches don't come undone after a hot minute, because that would stink for you to do all this work and have stitches showing later. And I will show you in a second what it looks like. So they're all going to look like that. Now let me finish these real quick, and then we'll go to the next one. Alright, after you get the 3 top stitch, you're going to take 2 of them, put them right sides together, and with the 3-stitch length again, you're going to sew them together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And stop when you get to that line. And then put your stitch length back to 4. Open this up, and you're going to do the same thing. Top stitch down both sides. Alright, now you should have these 2 pieces. Let's put them together. Right sides together. Three-stitch length again. And sewing up to that line. open it up and press those seams open and do them as well. I've got a 4-stitch length. All right, last sides we got to put together. Back to a 3-stitch length. Okay, press that open, 4-stitch length. All right, we should look like this. We're gonna go take care of these real quick, and then we can add our top knot. Now, I went ahead and I put little strips of 1/2 inch double-sided tape right along that line, right there that we drew earlier, so that our deco of a light would stop. I put it right there. What you're going to do is you're going to take that paper off, and you're going to make this flap come down and push it down just like that. And you're going to do that to all of those. Alright, it should look like that. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our top knot, and then we're going to take our top knot and push it through. And you get as much of your top knot in there as you can so that it's flush with the back. There's another reason why you don't want to put too much stuffing in there, because you won't get as much top knot popping out. Okay, we're going to take this to the sewing machine. At 1/4 inch or so, we're going to sew across all of our triangle tops so that our top knot is sewn in. So let's go do that. Alright, I also forgot to mention that there are 6 sides on your top knot. You're going to want to try and match them up on each side with your triangles here. Okay, once you've got it where you think you want it, put your stitch length at a 4. And then what I'm going to do is just kind of go around. It's a little more than a 1/4 of an inch. You're just sewing it to the very top. And what I'm doing is I'm going across each triangle and then stopping with my needle down and then moving it. Alright, so just go to each corner and then stop and put your needle down. Just wherever you feel comfortable, just get as close as you can. The idea is just to catch the undercarriage of that top knot so that the top knot is nice and secured. Alright, top knot is all in. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our zipper flap. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the back seam, and I am not going to line it up with this because that is going to lead to a lot of thickness in about a minute. So I'm going to take my back seam and line it up with the center of one of my triangles. Then what you're going to do is you're going to clip all the way around. Alright, now let's take this to the sewing machine, and at 1/8 of an inch we're going to sew around the edges and base stitch these two together. Alright, so we're sewing roundy bits. We want to take our time with this. And so we're just going to go with a 4-stitch length and 1/8 of an inch around, and we're just going to kind of push that flap up to the edge, making sure that they both match up. Alright, nice and base stitched on. The next thing I'm going to do is just cut these little roundy bits. They kind of come out and kind of X. I'm just going to cut those away. This isn't a necessary step, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it so everything's nice and round. Nice and rounded out. Okay, that's done. Next thing we're going to do is set this aside. We're going to grab our zipper, our outer zipper panel, and our lining zipper panel. We're going to take our zipper panel right side to the right side of our zipper panel, and we're going to place the back seam to the back of our zipper gusset. And we're going to match up those notches that we made. So I've matched up the back zipper, and then I'm going to match up the front notch. Ooh. So you got your center back, your center front, Now I'm going to go to the side and then the other side, and then go ahead and clip all the way around. We're going to take this to the sewing machine and base stitch the zipper in place so it will stay while we try and add our lining onto it. Alright, I'm going to start in the back, 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. We're going to use a 4-stitch length and just base this zipper in place. Alright, we've got our zipper all in place and base stitched in place. We're going to take our lining right side out, take our back seam that we made and match it up to our back seam in our zipper gusset, and go ahead and clip around just like you did your zipper panel. Do the same thing with your lining. We're going to find our back center front and then our front center front, side center front, and the other side center front, and then clip all the way around. Alright, with a 3-stitch length, we're going to go ahead and with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, go ahead and sew this together. Now that our zipper is attached, I took the outer fabric and the lining fabric and pulled them away from the zipper, and then I went ahead and I clipped the outer and the lining together on this edge. Next thing we're going to do is top stitch down our zipper. So I'm going to turn it with the right sides in, and then all I'm doing is, where are you at? All I'm going to do is top stitch the outer and the lining panel away from the zipper. Okay, now we're going to go to the other side. I wanted to do the top stitching first to make sure that that lining was all the way pulled over. So now on this side we're going to go ahead and top stitch there. Well, base stitch the edges together. Alright, that's all done. We have got the side base stitched in place, and make sure that our lining fabric is against that edge. And then we've top stitched down our zipper, so that looks nice. Next thing we're going to do is turn this right side in, and we're going to find our back center. We're going to find the back center on our flap, and we're going to put those together right on top of each other. And believe it or not, it's not too thick. I mean, it's thick, not going to lie, but as a clip breaks. Oh my goodness. It is thick back there, but we want to keep those seams kind of hidden in the back of the bag. You don't want to look on the side of the bag and have like a bunch of seams there. We want all the ugly stuff in the back so we don't have to look at it, basically. Okay, clip all the way around. We're going to take this back to the sewing machine and base stitch our zipper panel on. It's still got a 4-stitch length. We're going to go around 1/8 of an inch, just kind of putting all of this together and base stitching it together. Alright, now we've got our zipper attached and all that jazz. Next thing that we need to do is we need to grab our top main panel, and then what we're going to do is we're going to match up our notches on our zipper panel like that. Let's see, where's the next one? Now this one is going to kind of be like, if you've done the H2O to go, you'll be feeling me. The circle is a little bit larger so that when we need to turn it inside out, it'll be nice and taut. If it was the same exact size, it would be way too tight and wouldn't turn right. So you are going to have to push this down, kind of like messing around with the H2O to go. You're going to have to just push those edges in, and then we'll sew, them in place. But yes, it is larger, so if you get putting it together and you're like, it's too big, There's a reason for that. It was going to be too tight being a little bit smaller, and I've tried and tried and tried to get it to work right, but it just was not. So it has to be a little bit larger so that it'll turn. You'll see once you get it done. Also, I'm going to sew around, and I'm going to leave a little bit of space so that I can put a little bit of stuffing in here. Because I want him to poof, his little top to poof out a little bit. So I'm going to sew around and base stitch it on there like you're supposed to. But I'm going to leave a little gap, stuff it a little bit, and then continue sewing on. But I just want a little bit of stuffing so that when I turn this out, his top just kind of poofs out a little bit. So let's go to the sewing machine. Alright, so I'm sewing at 1/4 inch with a 3 seam allowance. And I'm going to start and back stitch a little bit. And then we're just kind of pushing that circle so that the edges and the corners meet. Alright, so I left myself like a little hole to put the stuffing in. I didn't need a huge hole because it's not like I'm turning it inside out, but I just want a little bit of poof at the top. And I'm going to try and make sure that it's even and not too poofy in one spot. I just want a little bit of poof. And you do not have to do this. This is just me wanting my top to kind of be a little bit more rounded, because especially with the ghost, because you know his head is supposed to be a little rounded because he's a little ghosty man. Alright, now I'm going to go back, clip this, and I think that's enough stuffing. We'll see when I get done. But just kind of eyeball it. You see how it poofs up a little bit like that? Well, you'll see better when I turn it inside out, but that's what I was looking for. Just a little extra oomph. So we're all attached. My stuffing is in. The next thing I'm going to do is grab some waterproof canvas for my binding. If you have not used any kind of like fold over elastic, oh my goodness, life is so much easier with fold over elastic. I got some and then I ran out and I bought some new ones, but it's too thin. But I'm going to use waterproof canvas today because it's what I've got. So I'm going to fold that in half, clip at a diagonal, fold that over, and then just start putting it all the way around. Let's see, I don't want to do it in the very, very back. There we go. Just start folding it over, and you could use cotton if you wanted to. It's up to you, whatever you want to use, whatever you've got on hand, go for it. I could have picked a lot better color, but here we are. It's Halloween themed, it's fine. So you're just going to go all the way around, clip it all the way around. Then we're going to go back to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch this in. And then when I turn it inside out, I can show you guys what that little bit of stuffing is going to do to your top. Now, when you're doing the other method that I did with the pumpkin, you can't really use the stuffing because it kind of stuffs out into your purse. But when you're doing the binding method, it's a lot easier to put a little stuffing in here and then have your little top knot stick up a little bit more. And I think I'm going to like it. We will see. And just un momento, por favor. Alright. Fold your end under. Alright, now I am going to go and change my thread out to black so that it looks halfway decent. I don't want to use, I mean, I guess I could use white. It's not really that big a deal. But anyway, we're going to sew around this just like we did a minute ago when we were adding the lining on. We're going to sew like this and around. So let's go do that. Alright, after some self-deliberation, I decided if I use black thread, it might show up through the bag if I did a little bit larger seam allowance somewhere else. So I'm just going to use white. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It's got white in the lining. It's fine. All right, 1/4 of an inch. We're gonna sew, holding on to our threads when we're getting started. I did it and I didn't miss anything. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this right side out. Now you can see what that stuffing was all about. It just gives it a little tiny bit of poof. Just a little bit of poof. Whereas the one that I did with the turning method doesn't have the poof. But this one has the poof, and I think I like that a whole lot better. So I will be binding the rest of these so that I can add a little bit of poof. Alright, next thing's next. What we're going to do is we're going to take this right side to the right side of our outside panel. We're going to match up the back, notches, the front notches, and the side notches, and then just clip all the way around. Alright, let's take this to the sewing machine and we're going to base stitch our zipper in. I'm going to straighten this up a little bit more and then base my zipper in. Alright, we got a 4-stitch length. All I'm going to do is I am going to base stitch my zipper in. So I'm just going to sew 1/8 of an inch from the edge. And I'm making sure that my zipper and the edge of my outer panel are edge to edge. Alright, so we've got our zipper base stitched in place. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our lining main panel right side out. I'm going to find my back center seam and my back center seam for my inside and put right sides together with my lining. I'm going to find my back center, my front center, and then both of my side centers, and then just start clipping all the way around. Then we're going to take this to the sewing machine and we are going to stitch at 1/4 of an inch to sew them together with our zipper. And we're so close. We're so close. I promise, we're so close to being done. And he's going to be so cute. So it should look like this. So you've got all of that and you can just kind of scrunch it up and get it out of the way. Let's go to the sewing machine and sew those together. Alright, so I've got my stitch length at 3. We're sewing at 1/4 of an inch. Alright, our lining is all together. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the outer panel and pull the flap through. So in other words, we're pushing that flap out. He's so cute. I cannot stand it. Okay. What I'm going to do to make sure that everything is going the way that it's supposed to, I'm going to clip these real quick. I'm matching up my front and back notches. And then I'm going to match up my side notches, and then I'm going to clip all the way around. We're going to base stitch this in place. It'll be a little bit easier to do it this way. And then we're going to top stitch along our zipper while we're at the sewing machine. Might as well get it all done. And then we'll be close enough where we're going to turn this inside out, put the bottom on, bind it, and then we're done. I know, such a quick sew. Love it. Alright, let's take this to the sewing machine and then base stitch around the end, around the bottom, and then we're going to open this up and top stitch around and down the zipper. Alright, I have got a 4-stitch length, and we're just going to go 1/8 of an inch all the way around the bottom. Alright, now we're going to open up this zipper all the way, and we're going to top stitch. So what you're going to need to do is, I'm going to start kind of towards the back. You're going to need to pull your lining that way and your vinyl that way, away from your zipper. And watch out for your D-rings. You need to push those out of the way. You also need to watch out for your zipper pulls. So push them out of the way. And I still have a 4-stitch length. And I'm sewing it this way, and you want to make sure that your outside looks good, right? And you can't see what I'm doing. You want to make sure that your outside looks good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my foot and I'm going to follow this line right here all the way around. And that should make my stitching on the outside look nice and even instead of being kind of all wibbly wobbly. So, watch out for your D-ring. I've moved it out of the way. Just take your time with this, because this part is going to show up. So just take your time, especially when you get around to the front where the face is. You want to take your time. Alright, so we're all top stitched, and look how nice that top stitching is. Just taking your time. Alright, now we need to turn this inside out so that we can do the bottom, right? So put your top in and then turn it all about. You don't want to turn your vinyl any more than you have to, but just sometimes you just got it. Alright, now let's grab the bottom panel. We already have our 4 points so that we can kind of meet everything up. We're going to grab our center front, center back. If you haven't figured it out by now, we're going to bind the bottom. And then you're done. Once we sew this together and then bind it, you're all done. So we got your side center, and then go ahead and clip all the way around. Alright, so we're sewing the bottom on. I have a 4-stitch length, and I am sewing at 1/4 inch. We're just going to sew all the way around. To save a little bit of time, I went ahead and grabbed my binding and went ahead and clipped it all the way around. And now we're going to go ahead and sew it, and then we'll be turning it inside out, and then we'll be done. Alright, so I still have a little bit of fussing to do to get the ghost. I turned her inside out off camera because I was not thinking clearly, obviously. I got some fussing to do with her around the top, but I'm very, very happy with her, and I think I like the binding a lot better than I do the turning it inside out. Because I can add the stuffing, it kind of feels really fun on the top, whereas this one just kind of sinks in. So I would highly recommend the binding method just because of that reason. I also feel like it's just a little more structure using the binding at the bottom and binding at the top. But that's just me. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. What do you think? Do you want to do the binding, or do you want to do the turning inside out? Let me know what you think. Alright guys, what did you think? I hope it was a simple, fast sew for you guys, because that's what I was kind of going for. I wanted the top to be a little bit more complicated, but the bottom and everything else to be really easy, and that way it was something that you guys could do for like craft fairs and stuff like that, to be able to make a lot of these in a short amount of time. You could batch sew these in no time at all. Alright, so if you didn't like the binding method, there is one with the turning method. So you would sew just a little bit and then turn it inside out and then top stitch down. So there's no binding in this whatsoever, which is really nice when you don't like binding. So we have binding and we have turning. We have 2, but wait, there's more. We have 3. I've been running into 3s. When we did the flip side, we did the 3 sizes. When we did the catastrophe wallet, there were 3 flaps. So why not keep the tradition of 3 going? There is a video for the witch separately because her top is a little bit different than these guys. She will be sold separately because of her pattern being different. It just makes it easier, and the file won't be gigantic because you guys know most of my patterns tend to be a little large because I like to give a lot of details. Anyway, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, or if you want to subscribe, because now that I have my base pattern, I have kind of like all kinds of additions I want to do. I just need time to do them. Make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss that. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. I do check those daily. Thanks for joining us again on FaithWerks Designs. Bye, guys. If you're having issues with the SVG files, it was like a network-wide Illustrator issue. I have since called and hopefully gotten it corrected. If you're still having problems, here's what we need to do. You need to go, and when you downloaded any of the patterns that you get from me, if they come in and say it's just showing the top, take that file and put it in your Cricut design space. Chances are good it's going to be there. It just, for some reason, doesn't show the whole file. I don't know why. It just does what it does. Anyway, this one will not have any problems, hopefully. If you do have problems, make sure that you message me through my website. Give me a little bit to answer you guys back. I do work during the day, so I normally check my messages first thing in the morning and then at night. During the day, I'm working, so unless you send me a PM and my phone pings, I will not get it until the morning or the evening. You don't need to message me through the website and Facebook, because it gets me confused about who I've helped and who I haven't actually helped. So do me a favor, send a message through the website and I will answer you in the morning or the evening. The other thing, what was it? iPads and Apple products, you probably need to clean out your cache, or you need to make some room for your memory. Like I said, these files are big. Because the pattern pages are like 50 plus pages, it's going to take up a lot of room. So if you're doing it on an Apple product, make sure that you have enough space to be able to store all of that. That's it. Now to the outro. Alright, for our other set of D-rings, we're going to grab our two D-ring connectors. If you flip them over, you're going to put a center line, then add a piece of Decovil light in the center. Then you can grab some double-sided tape and put it right down the center. Then you're going to take the paper off, and then take each side and push it down into the center. You're going to do that on both of them. Alright, now that you've got that done, the next thing that we're going to do is on the right side of your fabric, we're going to mark 3 inches down on one side. Okay, we're going to take this to the sewing machine, and on each side, so from this edge, we're going to stitch down with a 4-stitch length until we hit that mark and stop. Pull your threads out and cut them, and then we'll put them towards the back. So let's go to the sewing machine and do that. Alright, so there's my 3-inch mark. I'm just going to start right there on the edge. Pull it out, and then I'm going to pull the threads to the back when I get done so that it'll look like that. When you're finished, it should look like this. Next thing that we're going to do is on the wrong side, we're going to measure 3 inches down on the left side. The side that we don't have stitches on, you're going to measure 3 inches down, and then we're going to draw a line there, and then we're going to put a little bit of double-sided tape right past that line, just like that, and we're going to grab one of our D-rings, remove the paper, put your D-ring on, take the side that you did the stitches on, and then fold it over to that line and press it down. Then we're going to grab another piece of double-sided tape, place on the back just like that, Alright, once that's done, let's grab our main panel. And then what we're going to need to do is grab your ruler, measure over 6 inches. We're going to put our D-ring connector on that 6-inch mark. So just over top of that, you're going to have to kind of fold this up and look as you put it down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my paper off, and then where I can see this, there we go. So this center line is going to fall right on top of this line here, and you're just going to lay it down. Then you're going to go to the sewing machine and start stitching here, go up and start and put your needle down, come over and then back down again. So we're going to start at the bottom. We're going to come all the way up to where our stitches are. I'm going to go one more to make sure I'm there. There you go. With your needle down, turn it. Alright, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to grab my ruler and measure in 6 inches. And then I'm going to grab some tape, place it down the center of the back. We're going to mark it 6 inches. And then I'm going to lean this towards myself so I can see what I'm doing. And then right down the center of that mark, you're going to lay this down, just like that. We're going to the sewing machine and do the same thing we did. So up, over, and then back down again. Still got my 4 stitch sleeve. Alright, so that is both of your alternative D-ring connectors. If you were wondering what I was doing with the orange piece, I was putting it right here, kind of acting like a puddle jumper. I've heard it referred to as that. But anyway, it makes sure that this vinyl down here didn't get messed up, but it got messed up on here. Just I couldn't turn it around enough. So anyway, those are done. If that's the way you want to do the connectors, it's just another option in case you feel like this is a little more secure. And then you would just finish the rest of the bag like you would normally do.